So Zack, Koscielny, here we go. Are you ready? Wild ride. Buckle up, folks. Here we go. So your farm, Green Beach Farm, has been doing direct marketing for a while now. What were the values that originally got your family into this?
Well, I think so. That was my parents that got that started, and it kind of came on the heels of BSE. So it was a little bit to add value to the livestock they were selling. So a little bit of financial motivation there, I guess. But they, for whatever reason, I guess they had always had a desire to know how their food was raised and have some control over that and know what goes into it. And I guess I've inherited that too. So that's become a big priority is growing food for our family and knowing what goes into it and how it's produced.
Excellent. Thank you. How do you think your customers see you? So what sort of connections do you have to them? And, what sort of value do you think that you provide to them? Is it the same as what you're providing for your family?
Yeah, I think to some extent, one thing that we've learned over the years, seems like labels or certifications mean a lot less than just having the relationship and hearing the stories. So I guess I've tried to convey our values as far as land management and animal husbandry, and I think that's been a big part of what's kept and then generated repeat customers is knowing that story. I think a lot of our customers share those values. Obviously, they're on the consumer end of things versus the producer end of things, but they seem to share a lot of those values. And like I said, the having the relationship and hearing the story from us, and we've started having on farm customer appreciations, and that seems to be very popular. Bringing kids to see all the animals and whatnot, and it's kind of fun for the whole family, I guess. So I think we relate that way. Like you said, that's been a value to us is knowing how our food is produced, and I see that with a growing number of consumers for sure.
So you talked a little bit about storytelling. So if this were a group of kindergartners out there, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. How would you tell that story? So, or what's the story that you're living out with your kids? Or how would you tell that story to a group of children? Because you mentioned that's what you're doing now. So, can you give us a little taste of what that's like? What do you show them? Yeah, what do you
I
tell them
think,
is
well,
important?
I think, um, farmers are, I don't know the latest number, less than 2% of the population. So I mean, I said this earlier in one of the breakout sessions and got a couple laughs, but we are a bit of a novelty, I think. So that, and of course, what kid doesn't really enjoy animals? So just really focus on the animals and showing them that aspect and I guess maybe steal a line from Joel Salatin as far as letting the animals express their behavior and the chickenness of a chicken and that kind of thing. And I don't know. I get a lot of enjoyment seeing the animals out on pasture, and I think I've noticed that with the kids that come to the customer appreciation too. They get some enjoyment out of that. So
And this is my I guess my next maybe final question is how forward thinking are you with these children and hoping that they become your future customer base?
yeah, there you go. Yeah. I had somebody tell me that's how they got recycling to take off is convince the kids in school and then they take it home and put the pressure on the parents. So yeah, maybe that is a good marketing strategy for sure. But we'll keep that in mind.
Uh, Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I think I'll pass it over to you, Dana.
For sure. I've got a few questions for Arron, but what I want you all to do first is close your eyes. I want you all to imagine that you're in the cutest little town called Russell, Manitoba, and you're downtown. And you come to this store, and it's called the E-Butcher. And you have this code, you punch it into the code to let yourself into the door. And you walk in, and you're not greeted by a person, but you're greeted by this beautiful cooler of beef. You swipe your card, the doors open on the cooler, you grab your meat, close the cooler, and it gets charged to your car, and you're off and on your way. You can open your eyes now if you want to. Um, This is what Arron has actually created, is this amazing, innovative way of people to access meat. Um, it's, this really cool new point of sale, type system that is very unique. But I know that in the rest of your life, Arron, you also run a purebred bull business. And you have this big farm and things that you're doing. Why was it important to you to create this kind of space?
That's a really good question. Um, we had been dabbling in the direct to consumer business somewhat, a little bit selling ourselves, but also dealing with some partners that we sold live animals to, and then they would market into the Winnipeg market. And we just kind of always talked about, for our operation, to become full circle, like we talk about farmers, they say we're feeding the world, but are we really these days? Farmers really produce commodities for the most part and not food. The food comes from someone else who takes the farmer's product and then turns it into food. And we just felt that we'd like to try to do something. We've always talked about it. And then we just had an opportunity where a store came available on Main Street in Russell. And it was kind of an opportunity to buy it. And we had no idea what we wanted to do. Like the vending machine part of it was not even part of what we were talking about at that point. We just knew that we wanted to try to do something locally. And we had an opportunity to buy the store, so we did it. And just kind of a leap of faith, I guess. And there's a few other reasons that go into it. Um, our goal as farmers is to take control of the market when, for the most part, we're price takers, but there are ways to take control of that in your business. And this was part of that. Another reason was to possibly provide another business enterprise for family members if they wanted to come back to the farm, but maybe not, work on the farm directly. So that was part of it. And as far as the vending machine idea goes, direct to consumer, there's a few different ways to do it. You can do farmers markets. You can sell to the city and do drop dates. There's a few different ways you can do it. You can do online and ship national if you want. A lot of people are trying that. But we kind of thought, well, is there another option? And so that's what we tried, and it's been not a failure and not a success. It's been very challenging, but it's been fun learning as well. And we'll see where it goes from here.
Cool. Um, what about, often when people think about getting into direct marketing, they think I got to go to Winnipeg. What was your thinking around that?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where the people are. And Russell is a town of 1,800 people. So it's you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot right off the bat, because if you're only selling locally, there's only 1,800 people directly in the town of Russell. And there's also the surrounds, I suppose, as well. But it's a very limited customer base. And I guess I think that the food system is somewhat going in the wrong direction. We've become very global. We've got food being shipped all around the world and sometimes crisscrossing, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And I think the quality of the products in the grocery store are not what they used to be either. And we felt that it was important to us to provide a local alternative in our own community.
When we were prepping, you used the term like a food system correction. Do you want to talk a little, like you're getting into that? Do you want to talk a little bit more about like, what are we moving from to, perhaps?
Well, that's a good question. It just like we've gone into kind of into society where we've compromised somewhat. We like convenience and cheap food, but is it coming at a cost to society? Through human health, a lot of different things. And I think we just need to move, I wouldn't, I don't think we can go back to the way things used to be. I mean, we're at where we're at for a reason. Efficiencies of scale and different things like that, global economies. But I think we almost need to look to the past a little bit and some of the lessons there. And I think maybe a somewhat of a return to more localized systems.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'll pass it over to you, Blue.
Ooh, I told you. Am I on? Yeah. I told you we were going to get right to it. And man, we're digging in immediately. So, we've talked a little bit about family values and starting with your nuclear center and feeding people within your family good food and spreading that out to their friends and young people and then providing it to your community in the form of a vending machine, which I sort of imagined you press like D4 and that spiral sort of moves and your meat drops and then you have to fight with the machine to get it out. Very different experience. So you can go online and check out his videos on social media. They're pretty entertaining and inspiring. So we're going to turn to Michelle. Michelle, given that you could be making the same or more money selling your beef to the local auction market, especially these days, why are you in the direct marketing business still? So what's driving you? What's motivating you?
Um, uh, maybe because I'm an idiot. Just kidding. My kids are here. I say never to call anybody names, and that means also yourself. So, no, yeah, we have made that choice for right now. We did talk a little bit in this group about how I do feel a little bit sheepish in this room with a lot of producers of different scales and many of you selling into the conventional market, but I am really curious actually how many of you are currently direct marketing products, your own products. Put your hand up. Okay, yeah, there's a few of you here. Awesome, amazing. And I think that probably all of you that just put your hands up have over the last little while, especially maybe if you're producing beef, have asked yourself this question. I know definitely we have questioned it, and I think that's a healthy thing to do when you're constantly assessing your choices. And does this still fit with our quality of life? Can we pencil it still? And yeah, I guess basically, I have a lot of respect for people that some of our mentors that, we looked to and got advice from when we first got into direct marketing. Some of them have actually pivoted in the last year or two out of direct marketing completely. And I understand why. It might not make sense anymore. For us, where we're at, my husband Troy and I, and we have a family with young children, it does make sense. It feels like it makes sense for us right now. And we've been doing this for about 13 years. And at this point, it's something that we slowly got into, and it's taken us a while to build up a network of customers. Most of those customers are in Winnipeg. We go in once a month. People pre-order online, and we bring these orders in of grass-fed beef, of raw honey, and of eggs. Those are the products that we currently sell. And yeah, it's just, some of these customers have been with us for almost a decade now. We've seen their children grow up. We've just built these relationships with these families, as I'm sure you guys are seeing as well. And that's just such an amazing feeling. And we see people come and go. Not everybody, it's not going to be for everybody out there, but yeah, I think, kind of like, I think it was Zack was talking about, the autonomy part of it, right? When we, 13 years ago, when we did start direct marketing, the market was very different, looked very different in beef than it does now. It wasn't all that exciting to sell into the auction mart, which we were doing. And we kind of slowly got our way into building up our numbers. And we're now at the point where all of the beef that we raise, we sell direct. And it doesn't really feel like something that we can easily kind of pivot out of and back in. It's kind of like if we made the choice to stop doing it, even if we thought it was a pause for a year or two, we might lose those customers altogether, right? They would find somebody else to feed them, and that's great. They should. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing you can go back and forth easily. You know, as far as our cattle go, we've got the carcass size and the breeds that we have are not maybe exactly what the market wants as well. So we've built a system that works for us. It's basically a full-time job for me. Aside from 1 day a week at a ranch supply store that I work at, I'm full-time doing this marketing thing. So, which I really, really love, even though I do only get to like do the face-to-face part with the customers 1 day a month, because we are about 3 hours from the city. Yeah, that day makes it all worth it. It's crazy. And we'll see like this, we went this past weekend and served almost 150 families in that 1 day in just a couple
Yeah.
hour period. So yeah, it's rewarding.
Yeah, I hear that. And I'm gonna go off script just a little bit. And just talk a little bit, because what I hear embedded in what you're saying is you've seen your customers' children grow up. So you clearly have more of a connection than just the almighty dollar, right? There's something more to it there. And I'm gonna venture a guess, it's something about loyalty or responsibility. And there's something embedded in that. Can you describe what it feels like to perhaps feed your children, much to what Zack was talking about, to feed your children the food you produce, but to feed other people, whether they're in your local community or the broader community of Winnipeg? She said, what does it feel like to give them high quality grass fed, beef and honey and eggs?
I mean, yeah, it gives me all the feels. I make up these orders. It sometimes takes me up to, these orders start kind of coming in and it's all online and I see them coming in and I'll say, oh, that's so-and-so, I'll see their order come in and I can I can picture who they are a lot of the time and maybe they're a new customer. So I mark them as a new customer. That new customer is going to get like a free jar of honey. They're going to get something special. We're going to try to try really hard to get them to come back to us again. And so really holding on to those people that we have. And we do have parents that come up to us, for example, in terms of the children, and they'll say, our kids would never eat this kind of food, but because we say it's from Troy and Michelle's farm and they will eat it. And our own kids won't always eat our own stuff, but other kids like it. It's different because it's their own.
They'll come back around.
Yeah.
Excellent. Can we move on to the next
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Perfect. How do you see your farm feeding the change that we need to see in the world, especially regarding food justice?
Yeah, that seems like a big ask for a pretty small farm like ourselves. I food justice, I guess, if we were to define it, I had to look it up to make sure. There's different terms. There's food justice, there's food sovereignty, but food justice generally, for those of you probably understand the concept, but it's basically that all people have the right to healthy, sustainable, culturally appropriate food achieved by addressing systemic inequities in the food system. I don't think that we're tackling all those things for sure. But it seems like a pretty worthy goal. I think that something that is in both, I was raised on a farm and ranch. Troy, my husband, wasn't, but something that we have in common and that brought us together is we both really believe strongly in the values around food justice, feeding communities. And that's kind of what drew us to moving back to, basically the land that was my grandparents, is that we saw these people that were kind of doing this model that was a little bit different and they seemed to be successful. And I think that there's aspects of it that we're not able to do at this point or do very well. In terms of there's certain demographics. Of course, we have learned that for us to be a sustainable business and be around this long, we have to charge a fair price. And of course, with expenses rising, you all know, we have to really, really be careful with our margins and keep a close eye on that. And our prices generally generally don't go down, although that margin between the store price of beef and our price of beef, that has lessened. So I think that people don't see our beef as so expensive anymore because the stuff in the store is pretty close to it. And I just think that I would love to do a lot more of what Erin's doing and feed our own community more. I feel a little bit shy about that. There's a lot of people in our rural community that are raising their own beef or getting it, getting it from friends or neighbors. So it's definitely, I think we could do a better job of that, but I think that there are a lot of opportunities to feed people that can't always access grass-fed beef. And there are some really interesting programs. There's a very small thing that we've tried to do, which is having our customers have a little fund, have an option on our online store where our customers can actually pitch in any denomination of $10. Like there was a customer that would always add $10 onto their little order of 40, whether it was $40 or $50 order, and they would always add on to that. And that fund was like, we called it an accessibility fund for folks that couldn't easily afford our food. And so for us to be fairly compensated, it was kind of like crowdfunding, right? So we would reach into that fund and it was like, that's so we could help subsidize others. So it was like the community of our eaters, those that felt like they had the means to do it, would put into that fund. There is something way better that exists, which is out of the Direct Farm Manitoba. My friend Katie and I, you'll find us at that table here. And that organization has the Manitoba Food Currency Program, which has been running for, I think, 3 years now with thankfully some funding. Like it's an amazing program that basically folks that would normally not be able to access local food so easily or pay for it, especially meat, proteins, and that kind of thing, get coupons through their organizations that serve vulnerable peoples. And they can go, this is right now mostly done at farmers markets. And it's not just Winnipeg, it's all over rural communities too. It's really, really big in like Morden and Carmen and other places. And they can take their coupons and they can use it as currency, as dollars, to buy food from farmers. So it's supporting local farmers, and it's also helping feed families and have them feel, bring them into this sort of amazing community event that is a farmers market too. So that's a very cool program. And I wish we could be a part of that right now. We don't participate in farmers markets. It's just not a model that works for us. So, but yeah, there's a lot of potential with things like that. And that's where I think real food justice coming.
Thank you, Michelle. And what I heard there out of what you were saying was that the desire to not price people out of your product so that they can access, still access your quality grass-fed beef, for example. That's your part in the game of food justice, right? Like you might not be part of the direct marketing coupon piece yet because you're not in farmers markets, but you are playing a key role in access to quality food. So thank you for that. That's very good. All right. So are we ready to transition onto our next panel?
Sure. I was just going to see if there's any last minute thoughts from the two of you. Feeling good? Feeling complete? Okay.
If anybody would like anybody here that is already direct marketing or is thinking about getting into it, you can come chat with myself or Katie. We're at the table for Direct Farm Manitoba, which is the organization that represents those kinds of farms, the crazy ones.
Excellent. And this panel will be up over here under this screen later during the question and answer. So there will be an opportunity.
All right.
Something else.
Let's give a round of applause for our Farm Gate team.
All right.